All right. All right, we rolling? I think we rolling. What's going on, everybody? Let's see here. Okay, we're rolling. All right, let's kick off that intro song and let's get to it. Yo, what up? Let's get this shut off. What up, everybody? Welcome to Exposing Powerful Lies. Oh, snap. We got some longtime homies up in the chat. Always good to see you. My brother John Connor, good to see you. And always good to see you, my brother Jethro. Man, so good to see you guys. Thank you guys for, man, sticking with the Lil Ewok show for 5 years, 6 years now. Has it been that long? It's been at least 5 years since I started this channel. At least 3 years since we really been kicking it off, hardcore, rolling hardcore up in here. So thank you guys for sticking with us the whole time, man. Really appreciate you guys. And there's so many of you guys in the chat and in the audience that stick with us from the beginning. So shout out to all the longtime homies. Thank you guys so much. I just got home from work. I am frickin' sweating bullets. I was covered in ice, liquid ice, also known as water. I changed my clothes, hopped on the laptop, and wanted to do this stream while I can. So I messaged Jim Bob. I'm sure you guys know Jim Bob is probably still alive. I shot him a message. It was like, brother, just so you know, I'm so sorry, but this is the only time I got to stream. So apologies. I'm sure he'll understand. I doubt he cares. He's never really cared in the past, but to let the audience know, Made by Jim Bob is live over on YouTube. So feel free to go and watch that show. I know because they're live, we're probably not going to have a massive audience today, and that's okay. He streams the same time slot, like every week, so it's not like unusual or not like I didn't know. But because of scheduling conflicts, now is when I got, so now is when I'm going. Um, yeah, guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are having a great day. There's so much that I would like to talk about today. I was thinking all throughout the day when I was at work, rolling through all of the subjects, all of the topics in my head. And as usual, I sort of do the stream in my head at work. And then by the time I hop on the camera, it's a little bit more difficult. It's like once you already do the spiel in your head, it's kind of hard to go back through and redo it. So thank you all for bearing with me. Thank you all for bearing with the porch stream. And thank you all for bearing with this washed out camera we got going on. What is the deal, man? On my end, it looks like the quality is not very good. So thank you guys so much for sticking with the boomer tech, poor boy trailer park tech that I got. Jim Bob is going through his 80s Gary Newman phase. Interesting. I have not been like following a lot of our homies' channels as much as I used to lately. Just haven't had the time to watch as much YouTube and to stay up to date with everybody, and so I feel terrible about that. Every time I see Basel Analyzer going live, I always try to hop in and say hi, but I just feel bad. I wish I had more time to follow everyone as closely as I would like. But everybody's doing such great work. Rachel and Andy, obviously, are just killing it, just knocking it out the park, just skyrocketing, shooting through the atmosphere. Jim Bob is just crushing, absolutely crushing. He's always got great analysis. He's always got, a really good perspective and always got really good takes on it. Who else? David Patrick Harry. I popped into a stream of his the other day. He's killing it. Um, so many people are killing it right now. It's so good to see. Jay Dyer obviously killing it. Jerry, when you monetize into channel, bro, this channel's been monetized from the get-go, just not through YouTube. I've been e-begging from the get-go, my brother. No, I definitely am going to eventually either monetize this channel, I think, or make a new channel and monetize that. I'm working on editing right now, so I'm basically trying to hone my editing skills so that I can produce different kinds of content should I want to. And I was thinking about starting a whole different channel for the edited videos and stuff, and maybe try to monetize that one, and craft the channel to be a little less controversial than obviously exposing powerful lies. This is really just the place that I go to just vent, hang with the homies, and say how I actually feel. And I don't think that that's very monetizable. I swear too much. I smoke too much. YouTube ain't gonna pay you, boy. And also, it's just probably not economically the most fruitful thing to monetize. It's not like we get massive views or massive audiences or anything. So yeah, guys, crazy stuff. I've been posting all morning. Been following the news. I'm sure just as all of you guys have been. And like one of the posts I made earlier on Twitter was like, "Where is Biden, dude? Is he still alive? How crazy is this? How crazy are these times that we live in? Like, our president is very likely dead, or on death, on his deathbed, and it's just like media blackout, vacuum of information around it, hush hush. Obviously, all of us, we all know that Biden has not run anything, since he got elected. But it's just really crazy when the reality of that sets in, and it's like we have a government that is just on its face for all to see. Anybody looking who's not like totally oblivious can see that like this is a puppet administration. They paraded around a senile old man, and the people behind the scenes are actually pulling the strings. I mean, it's just incredible. It's incredible to see a sort of like Soviet style system going down right now in America, and they have their assets in the media to just run cover for them, and just tell you to your face, don't believe your eyes. It's not what it looks like. How crazy is that? It's really surreal to see how far we've come, and it's nuts, man. I've been thinking a lot about sort of things that we've talked about before in terms of as a Christian, um, what what the proper response is to all of this stuff. I've seen a lot of different takes on it. I've seen a lot of different people posting on it, and so that's the main reason why I wanted to do this stream, is just to talk about it. I think it's a really interesting conversation to have, and I think we need more people to actually have the conversation. Would love to get an alternate perspective. Would love to have somebody that disagrees with my take on it, come and sort of have the discussion with me. I had sort of a negative interaction today online around that. And so I took some screenshots of it. I'm not going to be putting anybody on blast, saying any names or anything like that. And it was all copacetic by the end of it. But this current administration and the 2016 Trump administration has, as one of the viewers said last time, it's such like a lightning rod of public consciousness, and it's such a galvanizing force that simply talking about like the Trump administration or mentioning Trump at all, it just brings out the demons in people. And it's like you've got the cult of Trump, or the cult of the people that like worship the ground he walks on and thinks he's like the best thing ever, the savior of mankind, the savior of the Western world, whatever. And then you've got the people who think he's evil and monstrous. And then even in like the Orthodox Christian sphere, you've got people who think that like if you mention Trump, or if you think that Trump is like the better of the two options, that you're like demonically deluded, that you're totally deceived. I made a post the other day. I said all nuance goes out the window when you bring up the name of Trump. It's like people have such black and white thinking. It's like if you have a take like I have, where I've expressed it as thoroughly as I possibly can. I don't have any trust or faith in Trump. I don't think he's like some savior or hero. I think out of the two frickin' choices we have, I think he's obviously the better of the two. And I think that he is who he says he is. I think he really does want to turn the American economy on. I think he really is a sort of disruptor and an outsider from the political establishment who's had the reins of power for as long as any of us can remember, as long as I've been alive. And I think he's trying to use the system that we have in place, play the game, right? Run a good campaign, win an election, become president, try to win the House and the Senate, and to do things that are going to help the American, economy, help the American nation as a whole. It's like he's coming at it from the old way, right? When we were still a sovereign nation, when we still had a belief in the sort of idea of representative democracy, of representatives actually caring about the people. He's trying to play that old game, but the people in power have been in power for so long and have manipulated the infrastructure of power so much that it's like it's kind of doomed to fail. And I hope not, but I just want to be real with y'all. It's like I don't possibly see how they could let him take power. Like if he's going to play by the rules, which he has to, is there any chance that he's going to win? I don't see how that possibly could be. And the Secret Service attack, the Secret Service stand down and the assassination attempt is a perfect example of that. It's like the Biden administration is in charge of his security, at the end of the day. Like, they're the ones overseeing the Secret Service. Like, bro, you're playing their game by their rules, and they are not beholden to the rules. How can you possibly win that? How can you possibly expect to win that? The guy's not stupid. He's obviously got to know that, but then you see a bullet almost hit him in the head, and you realize, like, maybe he is naive. Maybe he does think, oh no, I'm just that popular. They have power because they have, all of this money, and they have all of this infrastructure, and all of their all of the sort of bureaucracies at their disposal. But I have power because the American people are behind me, and so hopefully, that power can sort of supersede the the deep state. I don't know. I don't see how that's possible. I see it very much as just like the 2020 situation, where it's like you got this guy playing by the rules thinking, well, most people support me. Naturally, I'm going to win. And then they just steal it from him. And he's like, oh, how did this happen? What? They're gonna, what? I thought that we were playing the same. You're not playing the same game, dude. You're not playing the same game. These guys are playing for keeps. These guys are playing with live ammunition. These guys are playing with, like, not afraid to murder people who are in their way, not afraid to literally parade around a senile old man and lie to the public in the most obvious, bald-faced, open, apparent deception, manipulation, lies, possible. You're not playing the same game. Janie Sophia, welcome. She says, the Psalms help me to remember that no matter what is going on, to trust in the Lord. And that is sort of a good thing to bring up, because that's sort of the main thing that I want to talk about today. Is this sort of two different perspectives coming from Christians on the internet about this time and this year, this election year, and all of this. I've seen a lot of people, posting quotes from saints, as people always do. I do that all the time, about, there is no political victory in this world, that even if we control the whole world, that we're still immigrants passing through the world and all of that. And that's all 100% true. I think we're all on the same page. If you're a Orthodox Christian, we just have to understand that this world is not our home, that this world will never be a utopia, there's never going to be a savior. You can't put your trust in men. You can't hope that, you can't fall into these cults of personality like we see around Trump. That is very, very dangerous, very, very easy to fall into, and is a real thing that people should talk about. It's a real problem that exists, especially around this candidate. A stage in a field with nothing next to it should be easy to secure too. It was a clear and obvious stand down. It was a clear and obvious assassination attempt. I don't think anybody is really doubting that. The problem is that we don't have undeniable proof, and so nobody can really come out and say for certain that, somebody behind the Biden administration, and even to use that term is just asinine. It's not the Biden administration, it's the establishment. It's literally the unelected deep state, whatever you want to call it. It's the money behind the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. It's the actual controllers of our country. They very clearly worked with this kid to take him out. And because they didn't, interesting times we live in, very interesting times, very uncertain times, very chaotic times, and man, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting going forward. I was watching an interview the other day. Sorry, we got a plane going overhead. I was watching an interview where they said, now that they've gotten a bullet to almost hit him in the head, wait for the plane to go by. There's the possibility that they could get one of their guys close to him and say, hey, you seen how close we can get? Maybe now's the time you start listening to us. Maybe now's the time, we make a deal. And that's very, possible. That's a very real possibility. But I do think that Trump is sort of, he believes in his own beliefs strong enough, and really dislikes these dirtbags enough to not make that deal. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. It certainly wasn't difficult for them to manipulate him in his first presidency. You saw at the RNC this year, Mike Pompeo's up there talking. It's like, what is this? Honestly, what is this? Like, are we not learning from the past? Are we going to just make the same mistakes over and over again? Which is why, again, at the end of the day, like, it's good to sort of have a detached view of it as a Christian, to say, look, this is very likely not going to end in the way we want it to end. This is very likely not going to go the way we want it to go. This is very likely not going to result in the end of the deep state. Wow, he's going to purge the entire bureaucracy. He's going to just tear down the FBI and the CIA and, just rebuild the whole thing, right? He's going to close the borders. He's going to turn the economy back on, start drilling. He's going to stop World War III. He's going to, deport all of the illegals that are already here, all of the millions of them. He's going to, all of these different problems that are, direct crises in this country. Not only is he going to get rid of all of that, but he's also going to dismantle the sort of power structure that the deep state's been able to erect over the last couple of decades. get the get the control back. The people behind them still have all this money, dude. Okay, even if you build up a whole new system, these people still have like so much freaking money. They can, buy people, they can blackmail people, they can do all of this stuff. We have this black and white thinking where we're looking at people who are in the public or who are in government, and we think like, are they bought or are they sincere? Are they on the payroll or are they not? But it can change overnight. They can take a person who's sincere, who's an actual believer in America, who wants to do right by the people, and they can buy him or they can blackmail him and overnight switch, right? They can threaten his family. I mean, nothing's off the table for people who are that Machiavellian, for people who desire power that much. So it is kind of like, kind of impossible to really look at public figures and political figures and 100% say like, okay, this person is a trustworthy person, this person's not. And so I think first and foremost, we have to understand that you can't trust anybody ever in the public eye. Like, there's no reason to. Nobody should expect trust from the public like that. Really, it should just be, what do you do? The fruits. And I think more than who's in charge, more than who's the president, more than who's the mayor, the senator, more than that, what's so important is what we as the American people, not only how we live, if we live godly lives, if we live pious lives, if the communities that we live in are full of godly, pious people living good, spiritually healthy lives, naturally, I think we're going to have a political class that's going to be naturally more godly because that's what the people expect from them. Those are the people that they would elevate. I think that what's more important than who's in charge is what the American people are willing to accept. What the American people are willing to sit by and accept as legitimate, that's going to have a big impact. And that's the scariest part, because looking off into the world and into the people that live in this country, it's like, man, like we already have, like I said, a Soviet like era, like just a truly, just a lying, fake system. This is a completely fraudulent, illegitimate government that we're under right now. The leader of the country, the president, is probably dead, and and it's like, even if he's alive, they literally staged a coup in front of everybody. And we're like, nope, he's gone. And the delegates are ours. And the money is ours. And it goes to Kamala. That's who we've chosen. I mean, it's just on its face not how it's supposed to be. It's on its face fraudulent. It's on its face illegitimate. And if the people accept that, then it really don't matter. It really doesn't matter who gets in there. If the people accept that, if the people accept tyranny, then you're going to have tyrants rule over you. And that seems pretty obvious to me. What's going on, Edmund? He says, love you, brother, but it's wild to me that you buy anything Trump is selling. Dude, that's a valid take, and that's why I'm making these videos. That's why I'm making these posts, because I want to try to explain the nuance of my position. I don't buy anything that Trump is selling. Anytime you watch Trump speak or any politician speak, it all depends on who he's speaking to. When a politician addresses the nation, he's got to address everyone, and he's got to there's certain things he's got to say, certain messages he's got to spread, right, to hope to win, to hope to have the majority of people agree with him. When you see that same person in a one-on-one conversation, they could be a little more real. They could give away a little bit more about what they actually think, but this is what they have to sort of say, or what they have to do as the leader, as the president. Let me make it clear. I'm not in the Trump cult. I'm not in the sycophant Trump cult that believes that this guy is like perfect, that he's like a good person, that he's like a chosen one by God. He's going to save America. I don't believe that. I think he's just honestly like trying to become president because he doesn't want to see America destroyed. I mean, we are at such a razor's edge right now where if the establishment is allowed to seize this election, we very possibly and probably are not going to have another election after this. And I believe that. And people have been saying that for a long time. That it's not going to happen. Election's not going to happen. I remember they were saying that in 2020, and so this is nothing new. I'm sure you guys have heard this all before. But I think we can all sort of agree that like this is coming to a head. This is coming to like we're looking at global conflict. We're looking at a crashed economy, a completely invaded country, and like it's this or it's done, dude. We can either close the borders, turn the economy back on, mitigate the damage that's already been done, and sustain a little bit longer into the future, and then maybe deal with some of the deeper problems, or it's the American sovereignty as it exists today and it's sort of like shadow of itself is going to be gone. And we're going to have a globalist system. It's just so again, am I buying what Trump is selling? No. I think if you look at the sort of average Trump rally goer who just believes in him and is just like he is just the warrior for truth. I don't believe that. But I do think that he is actually in opposition to the people behind the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, the Biden administration, the Obama administration, the Bill Clinton and the George Bush administration, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious that he is not playing ball with them. So if that's buying what Trump is selling, okay. But when I see the guy speak, he seems to just, it seems pretty obvious. Like he's it's not cryptic. He says exactly what he thinks. He says exactly what he wants to do. I watched the entire Trump presidency go down in 2016 to 2020, and it was pretty obvious that the establishment used every single tool at their disposal to convince as many people as possible to betray him, to work against him, to hate his guts, to want him, ousted from power. I mean, it's not about buying it, dude. It's just about seeing it for what it is. And one thing that I can say is that as soon as that shooting happened, like all of the people online that I respect and who I respect their knowledge on geopolitics and on history, all have had the same sort of take that I have from what I've seen. They're all, whether it's Jay or whether it's DPH, even the stuff I've seen from Jim Bob, they've all had sort of the same take I have. Nobody's putting their trust in Trump. Nobody's like, this guy is where it's just a sort of like a realistic look at it. It's like a pragmatic thing. It's like, okay, if these freaking monsters, if these Bolsheviks, if these globalists, communists, whatever you want to call them, if they take power, like obviously it's going to be worse than if some nationalist populist guy gets in and is like, let's start drilling oil again. let's build up our military again. Let's have let's bring back law enforcement, right? I think that's absurd to think that that's buying into Trump. I think that that's a really skewed way of looking at it. And again, I've said all nuance goes out the window anytime you mention Trump because the people assume you either are 100% on board and you just believe in the guy, you think he's great, or you think he's a monster. And then you've also got the sort of Orthodox or Christian take where it's like it is always wrong for a Christian to engage in politics. It's always, and this is the conversation that I want to have that I named the video off of. It's always it's always wrong to even engage with the political system in regards to national politics, either because it's all theater and it's all nonsense, or because it's contrary to the Christian message of we are all going towards crucifixion, we are all going towards Golgotha. We're not going to win our earthly battle, so to speak. We're not going to win in a war against the powers and principalities on the world. They're going to crucify you. That's the Christian life. You're going towards crucifixion. And so you see this sort of take of, so in this day and age, in this year in American politics, the proper thing to do would be to not engage with it, maybe not vote, just pray, just go to church and have that be how you engage with it. I'm an idiot. I'm a very impious person. I'm not a holy man. I'm not a scholar or an expert. I'm certainly not arrogant enough to ever assume that I could tell any Orthodox Christian what to do or how they should engage in this. I'm just giving you my opinion and my take the way I see it, and I see that view as extremely wrong. I don't see that as the right way to go about it. And I tried having this conversation earlier today where I was like, okay, so if you think it's wrong to engage in politics, well, politics is just a natural part of any organization, whether it's your home, whether it's your neighborhood, whether it's your school board, whether it's the church. Politics is just a natural part of any organized structure at all. So where's the line? Where do you draw the line as a Christian? And the example I use is like, is voting for the head of the school board, is that putting your trust in men? Are you putting your faith and your trust in men because you voted to elect the person that you thought would run the school board the best? No? Okay, so then why is it putting your trust in men to elect the person you think is the best choice for president? And where is the line for a Christian? And the example I use is if we were in Tsarist Russia right now and we saw the Bolsheviks, gaining power and gaining numbers, and you saw the direct threat, not only to you, not only to the church, but to like your neighbor and to like their grandma and grandpa and their children and your family. You saw the direct threat like looming over you, and you knew if these people seize power, death and destruction follows. Oppression and persecution follows. A holy man, a monk, a saint might say, take me, oppress me. I know this is a gift from God. This is going to make me holy. God bless you. I forgive you. Throw me in the gulag. That might be the proper response for a Christian to have. Then and now. I don't know. I don't see it that way. And I'm open to being corrected. I'm open if somebody knows better than me. If somebody's, like I said, I'm impious. My noose is clouded. I don't see through a glass clearly. I see darkly. But, not only are we supposed to embrace the cross, not only are we supposed to, put our faith in the Lord, we're supposed to protect the innocent. And there's a whole lot of people who stand to suffer and die under the kind of global regime that we know they're trying to build. I think we can move past this sort of era of you're a conspiracy theorist for saying these things. I think we've been vindicated enough to be able to say this without mockery that like this is what they're doing. The new world order, global agenda, global homo, call it what you want. This is what they're doing. It's clear as day. This is what they're building. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for us. It's not going to be good for the church. It's not going to be good for everyone who lives here. And to carry that for anyone in the world, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. So where's the line between accepting that it's all in God's hands at the end of the day? If God wants to, allow the religion of the Antichrist and the system of the Antichrist to come into place now, or to set the path for that to come into place now, there's no stopping it. We're not going to stop it. Our job's to have faith and to endure until the end. But we don't know that. We don't know the hour or the day. We don't know if that's now or if that's in 1,000 years. So I think it's foolish to have an apocalyptic view. Like there's nothing we can do. There's no reason. Even if you could just put a vote in and stop the Bolsheviks from rising to power and murdering priests in the street. Are you telling me that you shouldn't vote? Are you telling me you shouldn't just say, hey, don't do that? Or that you shouldn't make demands or expect a certain behavior, a certain legitimacy from your leaders when you live in a system like we live in America? Because that's what it seems like to me that some people are saying. That's what it seems like to me. That like even, because that's as simple as I see it now. Right now we've got the old order and we've got the new order, and they're coming into conflict directly, and it's a battle for power, and which one's going to take power? And so I do see it as simple as if this guy gets in, we're going to at least avoid a much worse scenario, and that it might actually just come down to, yes, placing a vote and watching the polling locations. and actually having pressure on them to not cheat as much as, they need to win. If that's the situation we live in, I think it's not only is it wrong to say, well, I'm a Christian, so I don't get involved. This is just another election year. This is just this, more of the same. Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. Yeah, this isn't some brand new thing that there's evil people and that there's oppressive regimes and that there's horrible things that happen. But this is not 2004. This is not Bush versus, whoever the hell he was running against, Al Gore. This is, they're literally trying to murder him because they don't want him to get in, because they know that at this point he at least has a good idea of who his enemy is, and they know that they can't control him. They could try to manipulate him, they could try to scare him, they could try to monkey wrench, but obviously they feel that he's a threat. And so the way I see it is, I'm not saying that, we should join a militia, we should there should be bloodshed, we should fight. I'm not saying that. As a Christian, I would never say that. If that's the situation, then okay, I'm staying in my house. I'm going to pray the reader service, and I'm going to hope that I have enough faith and that God will grant me enough strength to endure to the end without losing my soul or my salvation, if that's the situation. But if, to finish what I was saying before, right? If God wants to allow these evil people to take power, which he very likely could, they're going to take power. Well, whether we fight against it, whether we don't, no matter who you vote for, whatever, they're going to take power. And if he doesn't want them to take power, then he's going to grant victory to those fighting them. Simple as that. Oh, but Trump's not an Orthodox Christian, or this guy isn't, this leader or this leader isn't a Christian or an Orthodox Christian. Okay, well, God uses people. He takes people who might have Machiavellian desires for power. Maybe they have good intentions, but they're just misled and misguided. He'll use them to enact good things for his people and for all people. He uses what men intend for evil, to carry out his providence. That's just the way he works. So just because, the guy who I'm saying I'm going to vote for isn't perfect or doesn't share my faith or doesn't mean that God can't use him to bring America down into the future a little bit, to sustain. We're seeing the church just start to be seated in this country, just start to bud. And it would be nice to see this country sustain another couple of decades, to see the flowering of that. Might happen, might not. America might become holy because it's given all of this time for the church to grow and all this stuff. And then it'll flower and we'll have, beautiful Orthodox culture in America. Or the country will fall apart and collapse and things will be so bad that it will just produce many, many saints. And from whatever ashes are left from that entire system, which will eventually fail, maybe that's when America will become a holy land, as St. Paisios said. Maybe. It could go either way. But my point is that I would just be very wary of people who are telling you it's not the Christian thing to care about the future of this country. Like that's anti-Christian, that's against the values that we hold as Christians. I would just say, to me, that seems like nonsense. But again, who am I? I'm a dummy. I'm an idiot. So that's why I'm saying. I'm just sharing my views with you guys. I'm just sharing my thoughts with you guys. It seems very messed up. Because the conversation that I had, they were talking about how, oh, well, it's the cross, right? Why are you running from the cross? People are so focused on this political stuff because they're so scared of what's coming. And I said, 100%. Yeah, I mean, yes, 100%. I am absolutely scared of what's coming. I know that we're not supposed to be scared. I know that we're not supposed to fear anything but God. I get that, And if you guys out there are like that, God bless you. You have stronger faith than I. I know that God wins in the end, and I know where the bullseye is. I know where I'm aiming at. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not there. I don't want to see, gulags for Christians in this country. I don't want to see just all of our ability to, to better our life. I don't want to see us put into neo-feudalism and some horrible top-down, oppressive regime. We've seen the fruits of that regime. That's the decadence and the degeneracy and all of the stuff that they've spewed on our culture. That's coming from them. That's coming from the devil, who is their leader, their father. I don't want to live in a country where they just have total control and we have no power to push back against it. I don't want that. If that's the situation and there's nothing I can do about it, okay. I'll accept it. I'll endure it, But that's not the situation we live in right now. We live in a country and in a nation where like these people have been in power and they've been slowly but surely trying to erode and destabilize and divide so that they can conquer it, so that they can build their system. They're not there yet. If they were, like the meme goes, that famous meme, like if it was hopeless, their propaganda would be unnecessary. All of this shit they're doing would be unnecessary. They're doing this because they don't have full control yet. And so, as a person, I'm just saying, hey, it might be a good idea. It might be a good idea to like try, just do your part, to just want the right thing, to not just go, it's hopeless, it's pointless, and actually the Christian thing to do is to embrace the New World Order, embrace the globalists, and embrace the establishment. Why would you try to fight it? You're clearly demonically deluded if you're going to vote for Trump. Like, this is what a person said. Like, the whole Trump thing is demonic distraction and delusion. What Trump thing, dude? There's people who are sycophants who are, like, completely deluded. And there's people who are like, yeah, I mean, I've got a million things I disagree with Trump, but I think that, he'd be better than, Carmella or Newsom or any of the puppets that they throw up there. Like, those are two different things. And we're getting this, like, oversimplification, this over black and white thinking where it's like, you're either based like me and you realize that nothing's real and it's all fake. And, like, actually, like, the whole world, it's just, like, there's just nothing natural, there's nothing organic that ever happens. It's all just a big show. And you're just not as based as me. You don't get that yet. But, hopefully one day you will. You're getting a lot of those kind of people. It's all theater, bro. Like, actually, it's not. It's actually not. I get that that's scary, that, like, the world isn't that simple, but, like, the world is full of human beings with souls and free will, and the devil can have somebody for all of their life. The devil can have somebody literally working on the side of evil, and that person can repent and go, oh, this is bad for me. Yeah, they're giving me money. I'm getting all this, pleasure, wealth, but this is bad for me. I don't like this. And they can walk away. They can do damage to the narrative, to the system. These are things we watch happen all the time. Oh, well, they're not Orthodox Christians. They don't know the full truth of the faith of Jesus Christ, so that's worthless. I don't agree with that. I don't see it that way. I think that if a person who's on this, like, sort of narrative, who's in the public eye, who plays along with the narrative, who plays along with the establishment up to a point and then realizes, oh, I don't like this, and gets out, I think that's good. I think that's a step in the right direction, right? I think that we're too quick to sort of look for flaws in these people, see the ways that they aren't 100% right, or the things that we disagree with them, and then go, oh, that person's controlled opposition. Like, maybe that person just doesn't, maybe they know what they know. Maybe they're only so far down the path. Like, I don't know. People are too conspiratorial, dude. And that's coming from me. I mean, I'm the conspiracy theory guy, dude. That's what I did my whole life. I was into, learning about conspiracies and stuff. That whole phrase, conspiracy theory, is just so stupid and asinine, but you guys get what I'm saying, hopefully. Splitting truth. There goes another plane. I know, dude. They're spraying me with the chemtrails, bro. They're trying to make it rain, so it makes me sad. You mean 04, the Skull and Bones race, Jerry? Yeah, exactly. All right, I've been missing the chat. Let me catch up with y'all. Black Party Vintage 07's my brother. Build your friendships with the ones at your parish, your priests, your family, and community. Work out salvation is all I can do. Exactly, dude. And, like, that's what I'm saying, is that there's not this dialectic, though, between you're either following what's going on in your country or you're following Christ. It's like it doesn't have to be either or. You know, you can vote for a person because you think that that's going to maintain your homeland better than the other, but still focus on Christ and not put your faith in that, and know that no matter what, it might be better, it might be worse, you know, it's in God's hands. And if we are in a situation where it's suffering and persecution, to receive that and endure that with faith, to know that, you know, when God allows us to suffer, it's for a reason, and it's for our own good. It's for our salvation at the end of the day. I just think that, you know, politics, especially right now, it's just an extension of the maintenance that we do on our land. If you live on a plot of land and you got a bunch of people there, and you got, you know, 20 houses on one plot of land, and you're all friends, right? You all pay portions of the bill. Like, there's going to be one guy who's the treasurer. There's going to be one guy who's sort of like the builder. There's going to be a division of responsibilities, a division of power, and there's probably going to be a leader or somebody who is best fit to lead, and y'all will figure that out. And that's just a natural expression of human organization. That's not evil. That's not demonic. That's just, politics is just a part of life. And I think it's foolish that people have such a silly view of it, where it's just like, politics bad. We're Christians, politics bad. That's absurd. I think that's way oversimplifying it. And then on top of that, you've got people sharing, you know, quotes from saints, which, glory to God, always, you know, I love sharing quotes from saints. I think we need to read the lives of the saints and quotes from saints every day. It's just a part of our life. That's like our spiritual multivitamin on top of praying and reading scripture and going to church services. But this period of time that we live in, and I'm trying to be very careful with what I say, is not the same thing as a saint talking about, well, you know, Bush and Al Gore. It's different. There's a different context right now. There's different circumstances. There's different outcomes that are potential. It's not just left team versus right team, red team versus blue team, and everybody's getting all worked up over this little political idea or that little political idea, like, should we raise taxes 5% or 15%? Oh, and getting all divided and hating people and joining up into these cults and these cliques to like argue over nonsense. That's not the situation right now. The situation right now is like, is this country going to crash and burn? Are we going to go into a global conflict where we're literally, you know, drafted and forced to murder Orthodox Christian Russians? Or not? Like, that's different than a saint talking about the average, you know, democratic election in the 1980s, right? And it's just insane to see people posting this stuff, and like, that's the view. Again, if you want to know the 100% proper way to maneuver, talk to a priest, talk to the clergy, talk to somebody who's holy, talk to a monk, talk to a holy man, right? I'm not giving the orthodox take here. I'm just telling you, like, from where I'm sitting, it's sad to see people sort of give up and make excuses for giving up when it's not just you, bro. You can say, oh, don't run from the cross. You can say, don't, you can say embrace this persecution. That's fine. But what about your neighbor who's not even a Christian, who doesn't even have the idea of a cross in his head? You know, it's not just something that affects you. If we're talking about, yeah, why run from the suffering that you know you deserve? Sure, for you. What about the other people? You know, what about the people, the innocent people? Like, what? You're just gonna force the cross upon them, a cross that you don't even know is theirs to bear. Like, I think that's really dangerous. That's a dangerous view to have. I think it's a dangerous opinion that people have, that it's hopeless. And I think that's the fruit of the demoralization campaign they've waged against us for so long. That at the bottom line, like, we all have just been so berated and beat down by this culture, by our leaders who talk to us and treat us like we're children, who lie to us, who poison us, that it's just so easy for us to go, well, there's no hope. And also, I disagree with Trump on Israel and, warp speed. So he's totally fake. He's just like he's in the smoky back rooms with Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and the Rothschilds, and they're all like, we're working. This is all a big charade we're playing. It's obviously not the situation, in my slow boy opinion. It's pretty clear as day to me that that's not the dynamic playing out on the world stage right now. And I get that that's easy. That's an easier way to see it. And then that's an easier way to see it. But you're not going to see it that way when, again, if that bullet would have hit and we would have seen, little pockets of bloodshed going on all across the country, it would have been much harder to see it that way. You'd have been thinking about, where's my food coming from? Oh my God, my grandma doesn't have power or food at her house. Like, it's just too easy. It's too easy for us to, we have such a normalcy bias of how things have gone our whole lives. It's sort of difficult to realize, like, how thin that line is between it all falling apart. And, like, that's obviously not good. Like, yeah, suffering is salvific in Christ, glory to God, but, like, you don't just burn it all to the ground because suffering is salvific. I don't know. Is this crazy? Is this a crazy viewpoint? Like, I feel like this is a pretty common sense, like, obvious thing, but I'm demonically deluded because I think that voting for Trump is the smarter of the three options: voting for Trump, voting for his opponent, or voting for nobody. I think the smartest one would be to support the guy who is at least, like, you see him for what he is. He's a boomer. He's the old style American business guy. Probably done horrible things in his life. I never had to ask God for forgiveness. All this, okay. You know who he is. He's not teaming up with the most evil or the most cold bureaucracies in our nation to systematically poison his own people, to systematically bleed the country of its resources and its money, to weaken its people, to make its people stupid so that they could be easily dominated and controlled, and eventually just to level the American system in some sort of bloody and horrific revolution or civil war so that they can rebuild it in their own design, in their own image. They can come in afterwards, after they've convinced the country to kill their neighbors because they're Democrat or Republican. Like, that's the goal, dude. That's where they're going towards. That's what they're pushing us towards. I don't want to see that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm fully willing to accept that. Like, maybe this is the opposite of what an Orthodox Christian should think or want or believe, or maybe it's always wrong to engage in politics because it's a temptation. It's very possible. I could be wrong. But the way I see it, like, this ain't business as usual. This is a very unprecedented time, at least in America's history. This is a very fascinating and interesting time in American history. We're seeing sort of the end stage of the military-industrial complex of this this bureaucratic mafia. This mafia which is control of the bureaucracies and infrastructure of the American government. We're seeing the sort of end stage of that. These fucking planes, dude. We're seeing the end stage of that. And we're seeing them really trying to push towards the finish line of finishing the job on the American people. I mean, they still can't get away with it fully, because we're still a large portion of the population is still armed, not armed enough to be able to stand up against a military conflict, obviously, but armed enough to make a problem for them. It's harder to control the narrative, if 10% of the public is organizing and they're armed and they're like, you could do what you want over there, but, from this boundary here, like, we're going to fight you if you come in. Like, that's obviously not the situation they want. So, I don't know, man. I can't help but hope to see my family and, the nation that our ancestors were a part of building and believed in. I can't hope but see our national sovereignty endure. I can't hope, I can't help but hope to see our economy doing better and to see global conflicts not come to a head. And my main message of this video is that I don't believe it's demonic to engage in politics, and I don't think that we should have such a infantile view of this situation to think that anybody that says that you should vote for Trump or that they're going to vote for Trump is like fooled or something. Like, come on, dude, can't we be adults? Can't we have like nuanced opinions? Do we have to fall into one or two, predestined camps, predestined and, defined opinions and ideas, and like you're in A camp or B camp? It's sad, but that seems to be the way that most people think. Isn't it possible that it's theater, though? Yes. And that's what I said in my post, and that's what I said on the last stream, that a lot of it is theater. Like, certainly, a lot of it is theater. And those things are really obvious, though. I mean, we've all lived through this for at least the last 10 years. For some of our older heads, 07 to you guys, some of the older guys, they've lived through it for a lot longer. All of the psyops, all of the nonsense that is immediately visible to you as a person, to most of us, that we called out immediately. Yeah, that's theater. Whenever they do this, these people aren't that smart, dude. They have a lot of money. They know how to steal, how to cheat, how to kill, how to manipulate. But at the end of the day, like, they're evil. They're slaves to sin. They're slaves to the devil. They're really not that smart. They might be, experts in their field or whatever, but if they were really smart, they would follow Christ, But they're not that good. They're not that cunning to be able to pull off this sort of the level of complexity that the controlled opposition would have to be for all of this to be theater, for Trump to literally be like in the back rooms with like fist bumping Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, like, yo, we're getting them this time. All right, get that rifle out, right? Make sure that bullet whizzes right past my head and then kills the guy behind me with a bunch of just Pennsylvania residents there to watch it all happen in real time. And then we're, to get this kid to climb up on the roof, blow off his head. Like, you're going to die today, son, but it's all for our theater that we're going with. Like, the amount of complexity it would take to pull off this entire thing, starting from 2015 till now, the whole there's easier ways to get what they want than to do that. And like, it's Occam's razor, right? Not to use that, but it's really, though. Like, it's not that complex. It's not that sophisticated. It really is the simplest explanation, like, that these people are, have been in power for the longest time. There's people they buy. There's people they blackmail. There's people that they coerce. And then there's people who are immune to it, just like cancel culture. There's people you can cancel, and there's people who are like, no, I'm going to keep saying retarded. I'm going to keep saying things are gay. I don't care. Like, whatever. you call me racist or whatever. That's fine. Okay. Anyways, get out of here, dude. You're not in my audience, right? Like, it's the same sort of thing where you can't buy everybody. Believe it or not, you actually can't manipulate everybody into joining your cult or joining your agenda. There's always going to be people who have values, even if they're not pure, even if they're not Orthodox Christian values. They still have values that they believe in and that they're not willing to compromise on. So it's just not that easy. It is easy to orchestrate an event. We see those things all the time with certain bombings, certain attacks, certain, events. Certainly. And there's things which are totally orchestrated, totally theater, and then there's things which are, never let a good crisis go to waste. There's things that are then hijacked and used to serve a greater narrative. It's all of the above, right? It would be absurd to say it's impossible for them to stage a shooting or an assassination attempt like we saw, happen to Trump 10 days ago. It's not impossible, and I'd be a liar to say that it is impossible. It's not impossible. They certainly could have. They could have lied to all involved. They could have had people believing it was going to go one way and then it went another way, and then clean it all up afterwards. Like it's possible. Is there any evidence for that? Is there evidence leading you to believe that? And that was the point of my last video, which is just follow the evidence. Just be a little analytical, be a little skeptical. Look for holes in your speculation and your opinion, because too many people speculate and they go, I could see that's possible, so that's probably what it is. It's like, have a higher standard for yourself, because this stuff is kind of important. Like, is there evidence pointing you to that conclusion? Is there any evidence telling you, that pointing to the actual opposite of that? Right, pointing to the contrary. Follow the evidence, and then make up your mind. Like, that should always be the case. You should always, like, yeah, that's great. Interesting thought, interesting speculation, really interesting. But is there evidence supporting that or refuting that? And that's just a way of thinking that the majority of people online, I don't know, not the majority of people, but you guys get what I'm saying. It's a way of going about, a way of thinking, a way of analyzing their presuppositions, if you will, that is sorely lacking in a lot of people. Sadly, sorely lacking in a lot of people like us who've come from the sort of early age of the internet, watching conspiracy videos on YouTube, following Alex Jones back 15, 20 years ago. It's all lies. You can see the blatant, obvious lies coming out of the media. You can see they're all literally arm in arm, lockstep, pushing the same narratives, the same agenda, and you can see it's BS. And so you go, it's all BS. It's sadly, that's just so common, that people really don't have analytical minds where they really want to get to the bottom of it. It's just, nope, it's all BS. We know they lie, and so they're always lying, and everything's a lie. I'm ranting, but I hope I'm making myself clear on what I'm trying to say. Jerry, we got to hear your thoughts on the Christian nationalism movement. Dude, I would give you my thoughts, but I honestly don't know enough to actually give you my thoughts on it. Here's one thing I can tell you from an Orthodox perspective. I don't think politics and religion should be mixed. I don't think that, that your faith should be hand in hand with your politics and like have them be one entity. It's like that, what is that, the Byzantine flag with the two-headed eagle, right? Symphonia, that's one thing, okay? To have a government that acknowledges the faith and the church, and the church, the head of the church, right? The hierarchs of the church, I should say, oversee their flock, and the head of the nation or the head of the empire oversees his people, and they work together, but they're separate, right? That's probably a wrong way to describe Symphonia. Basically, my thoughts on Christian nationalism are very much, I think, textbook Orthodox Christian thoughts. Like, I have no idea who's in the Christian nationalist movement. I don't know any sort of big figures. Is that like Nick Fuentes? Would he be defined as a Christian nationalist? I don't know. I'm an Orthodox Christian. I don't necessarily make a habit out of joining up with, other types of Christians, and so that would be a danger zone there for me, because I would never want to betray my faith. I would never want to sort of fall into the heresy of ecumenism or anything like that. At the same time, I think when I see people say, I love God and I want, godly values for my country, and I want, our laws to reflect Christian values, like, I think that's a step in the right direction. I think that's great, right? So that's sort of the way I would say, reflect on that. Is just like, I think laws should reflect Christianity and Christian values. I think, when people move away towards a sort of secular worldly view or the libertarian view of like, do whatever you want, who cares, it doesn't affect me. Actually, it does affect you. Like, if your neighbors are super degenerates and then they spread that to all of your other neighbors, like, yeah, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your children. It's going to lead to a situation like we have now with just rampant poison in our culture. But anytime that we slap labels on it and we call it, okay, this is the Christian nationalist movement, and we're going to have a Christian nationalist party, and we're going to have this guy, he's our guy, and he's the Christian nationalist dude, that's dangerous. You got infiltrators, you got sort of fed honey trap pots where they, there's just a whole can of worms that comes with that. So I'm a Christian. I guess I would call myself a nationalist, you know. I believe in our national sovereignty. I want America to do well. I'm very much anti-globalism. So, anyways, I also think that as a people, just adding on to something I said a while back in the stream, is that because our government is illegitimate, literally on its face. I mean, they've broken the social contract. They've literally broken it. This is not a constitutional government that we live under, and it hasn't been for a long time. And we could sort of look back at all of the unconstitutional things they've done, all of the tyrannical things they've done, and try to pinpoint like when it happened. But they are lying to the people. Who the people elected, certain had the election stolen from them, right? But who the people elected it has not been running the country since he, took office. We have literally an oligarchy running this country, an unseen, unelected, unnamed oligarchy running this country. It's a fraudulent government. It's an illegitimate government, and because of that, the social contract is null and void. Like, that's the sort of utopian way of looking at it. Like, yeah, this is absurd. Like, we shouldn't be accepting this. We shouldn't be taking it. But I'm also not saying that we should be like up in arms, like, revolution, because I think that's a horrible idea and a trap, and really, again, pushing towards the direction they want us to go, which is to have violence occur, have bloodshed occur. That's why I say I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what the correct thing to do as an American who wants to see the best thing for your country happen. And I don't think that the best is possible. I don't think that the best case scenario even is possible, in the sense of like having the injustices, the illegal and illegitimate rule over us, have that just be fixed. I just don't see that happening. I think the best we're going to get is like a system where it's just not openly hostile towards us, and hopefully whoever's in power at that level, if they actually are, for Americans, for America, they have some sort of plan to deal with the moneyed interests behind the establishment. Because like I said, even if you completely level certain bureaucracies, intelligence agencies, even if you totally level that and totally fix all of the problems directly, contributing to America's downfall, right now, you still have the problem of the people behind the RNC and the DNC. The people behind them, the people who are blackmailing and buying people, the people behind the reason why the media has the same message all across the board. The trillionaires? I don't know. We don't know how much money they got. Maybe they just they're in control of the Fed, and so they just print the money. I don't know. Maybe they just have money that they take from tax dollars. That's the money I don't know. That's the problem. They're a shadow oligarchy. It's hard to get a clear picture of them. Only thing I know is that they've got to be, in some level, controlled by the devil. I don't think they're having board meetings with the devil, but I think that they're just evil, greedy people. And because of that, I think that their hearts are corrupted, and I think they're demonically influenced and led down certain paths. And so in that way, I think that they're wittingly or unwittingly slaves and agents of the devil. I think that's the only thing I can say 100% sure about, this power structure that exists in the country. So yeah, my point is, don't know the answer for that. Hope that somebody does. They probably don't. So trying to be real with you guys and say, like, I can vote for Trump, and I can hope that Trump wins and hope that certain things go good in this country and in the world, and also not be like drinking the Kool-Aid and blindfolded and like, no, like QAnon, bro, like he's like patriots are in control, like he's fighting the bad guys and he's the good guy. Like, no, pretty can 100% sure tell you that's not the case at all. We've been completely psyoped to think next week the grid is going down. Fell for that shit for real. Anything's possible. There's nothing that's off the table right now. Anything's possible. Like, they could have very likely assassinated Biden already. Like, he could have just been in the way. We can't use him anymore. We wanted him because he was senile, because we could easily control him, because his son is facing felonies, and we've got all of this leverage and all of this power over him and his family. We got all the dirt. We got a bunch of felonies he's already guilty of, and the public already has evidence for. And so at any point, we can hang you out to dry. We can control him, but now he's unelectable. Now the people know that he's got dementia, he's senile, whatever. And that Pandora's box is already open. That cat's not going back in the bag. So cut him, burn him, he's done. You know, he's done. So they very well could have taken him out. They could have, you know, done the, Tucker Carlson had a guest on the other day. They were talking about Khrushchev and how they basically put Khrushchev under house arrest for the rest of his life. And we're like, you're done, buddy. You know, you're done. They could have done that. He could have actually had a health issue that caused him to, you know, drop out. But I think we're probably all in agreement on that not likely being the case. I think the most likely scenario, which we'll never know the exact details of most likely, is that whoever controls him said, all right, bud, you're done. And they either stabbed him in the back with some sort of poison dart, or they hit him with their heart attack gun, or, you know, get as crazy conspiracy theory as you want with it. They took him down, they took him out, they took him out of the picture, whether he's still alive, whether he's dead, regardless, they got him out the way. So, as for the grid falling down, or being taken down, you know, they seem to be desperate. They seem to be worried, which on one hand is kind of a good sign, and on another hand is also kind of terrifying because you just don't know what they're going to do. You just really don't know. And you know what's really terrifying is the thought that, like, we could literally have President Kamala, like, tomorrow. You know, President Carmela. We could have that tomorrow. That's kind of a horrifying thought in and of itself. But anything's possible. They could throw us into war with Russia right now. They could pull. They could actually do a sort of theater false flag staged attack where they just sacrifice 300 Americans. They could just put a bomb in the middle of a big city and blow up a couple of buildings and say Russia attacked us, or, you know, blow up a one of the military, you know, naval vessels and Russia attacked. Anything's possible. They could push us into war, and then if they know Trump is about to take power, like, cause some sort of false flag that the public is going to demand a retaliation to, and sort of tie Trump's hands in that way. And it's like, okay, well, 500 American citizens are dead, babies, children, women, you know. Now you got to go to war. That could happen. I don't know. The establishment could just show its face. I think that's the most unlikely thing to, that could happen. But they could literally just show their face and be like, all right, game's over. Shut the F up. Do what we tell you, and you won't go to jail. You won't go to the gulag. You won't get the the gun to the head. You know, this hasn't been a democracy, a republic for a long time. Like this, let's cut the charade. All right, you know. I mean, anything's possible. I think that's very unlikely to happen. But I think had they capped Trump, things would be a lot different. I know that things would be a lot different than they are right now. I don't view refraining from participating in politics to be throwing up your hands. It doesn't necessarily mean that. And thank you for saying that, because I did want to put that caveat in there. If you're a monk or a priest or a clergy member, or you just don't want to engage in politics, it's just you can't handle it, you don't want it, you know that personally it's a temptation, and you don't trust yourself from falling into cults of personality, or you just, you know, for whatever reason, good, bad, otherwise, you don't want to engage in it, there's nothing wrong with that. Unlike the people who are basically saying online that if you're engaged in politics at all or participating in it, that you're bad, I'm not saying the opposite's true. I'm not saying that you can't not engage in it. I don't think a monk should engage in politics. I don't think a priest probably should engage in national politics. I don't think that, you know, there's a lot of people that probably shouldn't. And there's a lot of people who probably can't or can't handle it. I got friends I was talking to the other day. They were like, I can't handle this stuff, you know. I've been through it so long. I'm burned out. Uh, it's a huge temptation for me. I can't deal with it. Like I have nothing but love and respect for those people, but they're not out there making posts saying like, you're not citizens of this world. So it literally, you stupid guy. What are you demonically deceived? You're gonna vote? You know? What are you working for the devil? You want to see the best case scenario happen for your nation, for your home? You don't want to see the most evil, corrupt regime in the history of the world take power, complete and total power? What are you like some sort of a atheist or something? You know what I mean? Like the people who don't want to engage in it and they have valid reasons for it. Godspeed. God bless. Glory to God. All good. No problem at all. But when you start to make these sort of copes and these arguments for why actually it's wrong for those who can or who have the will and the inclination or the desire to want to participate in a small way. We're not talking about starting a militia. We're talking about voting. And y'all know my opinion on democracy. I don't believe in democracy. I don't think democracy is a good system. I think democracy literally is a system that's designed to enshrine an oligarchy at the end of the day. That whoever is in control of the information, the flow of information, the education system, the media is naturally going to have the advantage. They can give you your two choices, or they can tell you, whatever they want and withhold whatever they want about your choices. And so democracy in and of itself is a scam. It's a nonsense. I don't think it's the best political system possible. But that's the system we have. And that's just the way I see it. So yeah, I'm gonna vote, and yeah, I think voting's gay and stupid, and I wish that we had a better system. I wish we had Tsar Nicholas II, ruling over America today. That would be great. Like that had its problems, and Byzantium had its problems, and every government system has its problems, and you do the best you can with what you got. And I do know, like I said in the beginning, if we're godly people, if we live our lives the right way, if we repent, if we actually follow God, and acquire a spirit of peace and thousands around you will be saved. If everybody does that, it's going to have this massive impact on everybody naturally, and it's just going to naturally, society would be a more godly society. Our nation would be a more godly nation. We'd have a more godly leader, right? That would be great. That's sort of what we hope to see happen if all things go the way that they should. But because the situation right now is so frickin' messy, it's such a quagmire. It's such a swamp, dude. You've got literally the church, the Ark of Salvation, all of the Orthodox Christians trying their best to do that. And then over here, you've got the beast system, whether it's the beast system or whether it's just a precursor, forerunner, just a little beast system, pumping out just toxic sewage and sludge, toxic culture, the spirit of the age, hedonism, gluttony, all of these, lust, all of these horrible things. You've got these two competing forces in our society right now. It's not like 200 years ago when we were all on in a small rural community and we all went to the same church, and culture was much more like natural, grassroots, contained, small level. It's like now you've got really a very weaponized force of culture attacking average people. So that's different. I kind of lost my train of thought, so let's go back through the chat. All I know is Big Don in charge is more material for me. I'm right there with you, bro. I mean, at the very least, we'll get some comedy out of it, but we got that from Biden too. You should refrain if you so choose. You may participate if you so choose. It's not unchristian either way, and that's my message. That's my message. If I have a message, I'm just talking, and that's really, I just desire to have the conversation because it's been irking me and bugging me to see this dialectic go on. I gotta text my brother real quick. Hang on one second. Okay, please wait like 10 minutes for me to finish. If you can't wait, I'll do it when I'm done. Sorry for the dead air, y'all. All right, we got some weed whacking going on. Going back through the chat. Um, they're never taking the 2A, too valuable for funny business, and the phony stalemate set up the mental health compromise. That's an interesting take. I think they for sure will take it, but I can kind of see where you're coming from. But they've took it everywhere else in the world. You know what I mean? Not that other places had the Second Amendment, but they've disarmed every population that they could. So I think the funny business, what is it? Eurasia's always been at war with, 1984, right? The funny business they can do with any boogeyman. They don't, right now they're using white nationalists or, American patriots as the boogeyman, as the number one threat to our homeland. But they could just as easily use Russia or use ISIS or anyone, They could change that up in a heartbeat. So I don't see that being the case, but interesting take for sure. Very few things are evil by nature. I agree. Everything in front of people, if it's done well, is theater. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, and that's a good point because just because I say like the other show we did where we talked about like, oh, I like Tucker Carlson because when I see Tucker speak, I see the interviews he does, I can sort of get a good picture of what I'm looking at. It's not somebody who's extremely deceptive. That doesn't mean that you trust him. That doesn't mean he's not a liar. He actually said on one of his videos he did the other day, he said, I think it's a good thing to not be a liar. I think it's really important. He goes, I have lied. I am a liar. I'll probably lie again. I try not to, but, I think it's important not to be a liar. And that was like, that's pretty revealing when you see that. On the surface, it seems like, oh, that's, he's saying that because he was in, mainstream media. He worked for Fox News. Everybody knows they are paid to push agendas and they're paid to lie. But that's not really what I got from it when I saw that. When I saw that, he literally says, I have lied. I probably will lie again, but I try not to, and I think it's important to be honest and tell the truth. Well, what is he probably going to lie again about? And when I see that, I think, well, it's the sort of Machiavellian sort of, you want to try, the ends justify the means. You have a goal that you think is good. You have the best intentions, but because you're on the world stage, like we talked about earlier, you got to sort of appeal to the masses and you've got to sort of make things palatable. And so there's that temptation to lie about certain things. And for example, if you think Trump's your guy and right now Trump thinks I don't know if he thinks this, I highly doubt he does, but let's just say Trump thinks Marco Rubio is a great guy. And if you come out against him, he's not going to like you and you're out. Then maybe he'll lie and say, I think Marco Rubio is a good guy. That's what I read out of him saying, I probably will lie again, because I think that people at that level of politics, of power, of that whole rat race, I think they just understand that if you want to try to win that game, you got to lie, you got to play the game. As a Christian, I think that's wrong. I think you don't have to play that game. That's something that is a temptation in that world because you want what you want. But I think as Christians, we know that if you're justifying sin, if you're making excuses for lying, doing evil, that's obviously from the devil. That's obviously wrong. You should always, do the right thing when you can. And doing the right thing is going to end up with you being persecuted. And that's just something that you have to embrace. That's the sacrifice that we have to make. Yeah. That's just, so we know that, right? But I don't expect Tucker Carlson or Donald Trump to have that sort of clarity of morality that like an Orthodox Christian would have. Because this is a person that doesn't see the world that way, isn't operating off of that worldview, and so naturally I don't expect that from him. That's why I've said many times, my bar is set so low for him, it's not even funny, dude. Like, I already know he's chosen to support Israel. Personally, I am very opposed to Israel. I'm very opposed to that whole regime. As far as I'm concerned, they killed Orthodox Christians. They're not our friend. We should, APAC, that's a whole nightmare thing. That's just bad. That's terrible. The speech laws that were passed on universities, terrible. I think they're a very bad influence in our country. I'm right there with a lot of the people that hate Trump for those reasons. But that's who he's chosen to side with in the situation that he sees it, Palestine, Israel. Well, we got to side with Israel. That's the way he sees it. Okay, that's the way he sees it. I don't expect him to share my view on that. I still think that even with the leader supporting Israel and all the baggage and all of the bad stuff that comes with that, it's still better than the alternative, And that's sort of the way I see it. And I think people, because that is something that you sort of have to be okay with when you engage in politics, I think that really creates this sort of conflict within people. Like, well, if I vote for somebody, something we've talked about before on this channel, if I vote for somebody because I like this policy, and this policy, but then they pass a law and they legalize abortion, after birth abortions, after the baby's born, and then they just kill millions of infants, like, is that on me? Is that, that's a really difficult aspect to politics, is like you don't know what they're going to do, and at the end of the day, like, all you can do is just try to make the most informed decision that you can and hope for the best. And people who still say retarded and gay are holding the world up on our shoulders. It's literally all on us, y'all. We're keeping it going. We're keeping this world running. I am way far behind in the chat. I'm so sorry. Let's see. The precept of Christian nationalism is flawed because it's focused on eradicating sin, which is impossible. I agree, Mella. And sidesteps how the Holy Spirit works on people's hearts, not so much the consequences of being imprisoned by something else by force. Agreed. Yes, almost done. Please wait. Okay, we got someone trying to weed whack, so I'm going to try to hurry this up. Got to go back to gardening. Thanks, Jerry. Love y'all in the chat. Well, later, Jesse. I'm sure you left a while back, but got to go in this building. I'll catch up with the end later. See ya, peeps. Later, slow boy. No one will remember America first in 10 years, guaranteed. I agree, and I also think that we have that normalcy bias right now, that we don't realize how historic this time really is, and what a culmination of different forces that have been building for so many years, how like big this time, this place, and this moment we're in right now truly is. Obviously, will it be remembered? Will it be recorded in the history books? That really is largely dependent on who comes out on top. Either way, the truth is the truth, and I think God doesn't forget, and I think the truth is always the truth, and even if in 100 years the people living on the earth today, if the world is still going on, even if they don't know the truth of the situation, that still is sort of recorded. It still is out there in the Akashic records and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, man. But certainly, if the enemies to the American people win, they're certainly not going to be recording, certain things in the history books. Let's just say that. All right. Going through. I see some fire. Okay, so I hope, it seems like some people are sort of getting where I'm coming from. Small change in the right direction seems to be the best case. Best case is moderation of the current state of affairs, I think. Yeah, that's again where I'm coming from, is like mitigation. Mitigate the damages. Let's just do the best we can, and then at the end of the day, focus on our own lives and try to be the most pious we can be, the most, Christian we can be, and, do your best. I mean, I'm failing at that horribly. Again, I try to say it every stream, like I'm not a good Christian. I'm literally the worst Christian out there. So I'm not trying to give any advice, just trying to speak my mind. Okay, going through the chat. They just sat him down in the chair and left him alone for 6 hours. Just broke Biden's mind right in half. Demoralization through camel face Harris, yes. The world's first Haktua president, that's historic. That's very historic. Okay. Let's see. The voting is just step one. The electors actually choose, so don't feel bad or beat yourself up if you want to vote. Oh, I know about that. I know about the Electoral College and that whole system. Um, Jethro says he just got a text from Trump. Whoa, bro, that's big news, dude. Big news. I vote Lay's. Kettle cooked jalapeno chips for best chip of 2024. That's the real election that counts, brother. Democracy is the logical fallacy of appeal to the people, imposing the will of the majority against the minority. Right there with you. Right there with you. That's why I'm taking a pragmatic view of this is the system we got, and I hope that we can maintain our land the best possible way. We can get the best possible situation for the people with the tools at our disposal. Since this is the form of government we've inherited from the people who came before us, you know, I mean, it's up to the people who live here. You're going to change it. You're going to fight a revolution and change it. You're going to work with the system. You're going to ignore the system and try to build something else. You know, I mean, that's the prerogative of every man, right? Is like, use it, don't use it. You know, I certainly am not a democracy shill, though. That is 100%. Like, I ain't a democracy supporter. Trump voice. We all love Marco, folks. They call him Mighty Marco because he could put up 400 on a squat. Frankly, folks, he swagged on a million. We're so back. Man did so many reps. All right. Trump has lied his whole life. Boomers think they can get away with lying because it's all about saving the country. They don't know what to do when they get control, so they just lie. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. You know, like I said, the bar's set real low, and I understand the kind of person he is, or at least from an outsider looking in, the kind of person I sort of can read from him. If anyone thinks we'll get a president who doesn't chill for Israel, he's out of his mind. 100%, 100%. Gotta go. Thank you, Jerry, for keeping it real. Later, everyone. Later, Mela. Thank you, Jethro, and all of the mods for posting PayPal links in the chat. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. We did get a few super chats, so I want to make sure we catch it. $5 from Jason Scholl. Thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate you, brother. Means a lot to me. Thank you so much, dude. Thank you. And thank you to the mods who are posting those links. And then I also saw one more from Steven, dude. Thank you, Steven. Big time. That's a $10 super chat. I just want to make sure I catch the message if he gave one. And I think we're getting pretty close to the end of the chat, so we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna check my notes real quick before we do. America has a political mental health crisis. You can't take anybody seriously anymore. I think most people aren't serious people anymore. I mean, I'm speaking for myself too. I mean, I'm a product of our education system. You know, I mean, I've tried to educate myself as much as I possibly can. I've tried, you know, not only just gaining information and data and experience from life, but also learn and teach myself how to be more analytical and how to be, you know, more of a critical thinker and, you know, all these things. But at the end of the day, I'm a product of my environment. I'm a product of the culture and the education system. So a lot of us aren't serious as people would have been in their natural state, unpoisoned. And as far as a political mental health crisis, I mean, it's by design, you know what I mean? It's literally destabilization, demoralization, divide and conquer. Like, again, I'm sure we're all on the same page with that one. It's by design. It's not on accident. It's not like, oh, how'd this happen? This is literally, this is the situation that they've created. And so we're all just dealing with it. And at the end of the day, I could be a complete fool for voting for Trump or for thinking there's any hope that if he wins that he can fix anything. Maybe it's fated. Maybe it's just this is the course that we're on and this is God's will for our country and for the people, and that it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to go where God wants it to go. That's very possible. But we don't know that, and I think it's foolish to assume that. And so that's my piece. That's what I came on to say. I think that we should be always trying our best to maintain our home to the best of our ability. And if that means engaging in the system, fighting obvious evil, then you should do that. Anyways, I hear the weed whacker going off, so I guess I got to hop off now. I'll talk to you guys later. I think I caught out all the super chats. So, yeah, guys, that's my message for today. And hopefully... everybody will be safe. Everybody will be doing their best and growing closer to Christ as much as they possibly can. God bless you guys, and until next time, Lil Ewok signing off. Later, y'all.